a listener production.
Hey, it's Helen Smith here. Welcome to the Weekend Briefing, where we sit down with the names and faces behind the headlines and go straight to the source. Today, I'm stepping in for Antoinette Lattouf, and we're joined by Ed Gamble. The British stand-up comedian is a self-proclaimed foodie and the kind of guy who's somehow pulled off the rare combo of tattoos and fine dining. Ed has done it all. Judging on Great British Menu, winning Taskmaster, selling out tours worldwide, and launching his best-selling book, Glutton, The Multi-Course Life of a Very Greedy Boy. On top of that, he's turned fantasy meals and celebrity dream menus into the chart-topping podcast Off Menu. Alongside co-host James Acaster, the pair sit down with the likes of Robert De Niro, Florence Pugh, Paul Rudd, and Jada Pinkett, just to name a few. And in this chat, we touch on so-called dirty tattoos, diabetes, how body image for men is often framed, and, of course, his upcoming Aussie tour, Hot Diggity Dog. Oh, and I had to ask him if he could be the male version of Nigella Lawson. A little later in the show, I'll be joined by our very own Chris Spyrou with the Weekend List, where we recommend what to watch, eat, do, and listen to. But first, here's my chat with the stand-up comedian turned foodie, Ed Gamble. Ed Gamble, welcome to the Weekend Briefing. When did you first think I'm pretty funny and people are laughing in a good way?
I'm not sure I've ever thought I'm pretty funny and people are laughing in a good way. I just sort of push through and carry on being a comic. No, probably when I was at school or an even smaller kid, I enjoyed the feeling of making people laugh and acting the fool, definitely. But in terms of people are laughing in a good way, maybe it's just my constant aim to try and make sure they're laughing in a good way so they don't have time to laugh in a bad way. Maybe that's all part of it.
So I'm picking up there, are you a little bit of a people pleaser?
Oh, totally. Yeah, 100%. Not a lot of comedians are, but I have absolutely no shame in saying that I am a complete people pleaser. All I want is for everyone to like me all of the time. And my biggest fear in life is someone saying something bad about me when I'm not there.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all like to be liked, but let's go back to when you were a kid. Did you always think, or were there any signs that you grow up to be a tattooed, foodie, stand-up comedian?
No, definitely. I mean, foodie, yes, 100%. I think I've always been absolutely obsessed with food, even from being a small child, like obsessed with all the food that the grown-ups were eating. So the foodie thing is not a surprise. The tattoos, I think, are a massive surprise to my mum, for sure, especially as I didn't really get them when I was younger. I started getting them when I was in my 30s, when I could afford good ones that I knew I was going to be happy with. But they are the sort of things I would have got when I was 18. I'm just covered in skulls, basically. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much the sort of person that most people would have assumed, to be honest. Like, I don't think I've changed since I was 8.
And going to your tattoos, I've heard that a lot of them are about heavy metal, or I've heard people describe them as, you know, they're your true personality. Would you say that's true?
What, in terms of tattoos in general represent people's true personalities? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Do you think that's true? Do you think there's any truth to that?
No, I don't think so. And I also don't think tattoos have to have any sort of meaning whatsoever. So people often ask me, like, what's the meaning of this one? I don't know. I just thought it was cool. I like the artist. I like skulls. I don't think they reflect people's true personalities in the slightest, to be honest, because people have got some mad tattoos. I know some very boring people with some insane tattoos. That's
very true. I know when my mum saw my tattoo, she freaked out and avoided the question and proceeded to tell me that tattoos are very dirty. So we never talked about it again. Yeah. But look, I'm going to ask a very tough, very general question. What do you think has made you so successful?
Well, firstly, thank you for even suggesting I'm successful. Secondly, I don't know. I think here's something that's very underrated. Turning up places on time, being generally nice, and answering emails now and again, because I'd say 80% of comedians can't do those things. I think I'm in the 20% where I'm efficient and I turn up to places on time, and I think that counts for a lot. And I know a lot of people are going, well, come on, Ed, talk about how funny you are or your writing process. No, I'm going to talk about efficiency and punctuality. And I think that, I'm coming to Australia and New Zealand. I'll get the right plane. I won't leave the passport anywhere. I'm organised. I'm polite. I'm a nice boy.
That's pretty good advice, especially for comedians.
There's some useless comedians out there. That's what you've got to be aware of. There's some totally useless
I
ones.
think comedians and musicians, I feel like they have very similar cross sections that they kind of intertwine in that way. But no, that's good to know. Just be nice, be polite, and yeah, okay, I'm going to take that in. Now, you've talked about this before. You are a type 1 diabetic, and you've spoken about it in your book, Glutton, where you chat about your relationship with food and how food seems to be a common thing with a lot of your work. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's something within the industry where if you're a comedian and you announce that you're obsessed with something or you're interested in something, then people will book you to do jobs connected to that thing. They enjoy the passion behind it. And I think I've always tried to do that in my career, like actually speak about what I'm passionate about and what I'm into, because I think it gives you a bit of an angle. You know, I like being the food comedian. I think that's a pretty good angle. But I don't know why it's informed so much of my career. I think being type 1 diabetic is obviously an interesting perspective on food, because I do have to think about food all day, every day, in terms of how it's affecting me and how I need to react to it and how much insulin I'm giving and all of that stuff, blah, 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 very boring diabetic stuff. But also I'm passionate about food. So it's that sort of middle ground that I occupy, where I'm thinking about food for multiple reasons. So it really does occupy a lot of my life. And I think that's quite an interesting thing to talk about. And I think universally food is a great topic, right? Everyone has to eat, so people enjoy hearing people talk about food. Yeah,
you are very passionate about food, and you often describe it in textures and flavours with so much enthusiasm and detail. It's basically food porn. Are you the male Nigella Lawson?
I'd absolutely love that. If I could just quote you on that and then get it on the next poster, that would be great. I'd love to be the male Nigella Lawson. I'd just like to be Nigella Lawson, to be honest. She's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if that's in my future, I'm happy to stand in a kitchen and be filmed in soft focus and sort of like, you know, push some custard around the plate in a sexy way. Yeah.
If you are going to be the next Nigella Lawson and sticking with this foodie chat, are you actually a good cook? Can you cook?
I'm okay. I don't get enough time to do it. If I was given enough time and I was just, you know, if God forbid there's another pandemic, I would get really good at cooking. That would be my main aim. I think I'm okay. If you give me the ingredients, I can knock something together. I can follow a recipe. I enjoy a barbecue. You know, as soon as the sun even peeks around the corner in the UK, I'm straight outside on the barbecue. I enjoy the process of it. I like having people over for dinner, but I just don't get enough time to do it all of the time. So I'm an okay cook with aspirations to be a much better cook.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know COVID, I think, gave us all the time to make sourdough. Did you make any sourdough? I think I've heard you.
No, I very early on I was like, I'm not making sourdough because bakeries exist. So I can go and buy bread that someone much better has made. I do not need to eat a worse version of something that I can get around the corner because I've spent hours and days making it.
Yeah, true. I'm with you there. I definitely never will and never have made sourdough. But now, switching pace a little bit, you have spoken about body image, and body image issues amongst young men are often overlooked or taken not seriously. How do you think the conversation around male body image needs to shift?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a really big question. I just noticed quite a few differences in the way people talk about male bodies and react to male bodies. And obviously, you know, you talk about, you know, being online and social media and all that stuff. It's still an absolutely massive issue in terms of female body image, and the way people talk about women's bodies is still a huge thing. But I think people are slightly more sensitive to it now and open to more conversations about it. Whereas I think with all male issues, the word banter comes up so frequently that people think that men don't care about that sort of thing or shouldn't care about that sort of thing. And if they do, they're somehow exhibiting like pathetic tendencies. And I think the male body image thing at the moment, I mean, certainly my algorithm, I don't know about anyone else's, is a lot of just insanely ripped men, like fitness models and that sort of thing.
With like crazy get ready routines.
Yeah, things like that. And you know, fitness brands where all of their ambassadors are like men in their early 20s who are insanely ripped, acting as if that it's easy to achieve that and that's what the standard body should look like. And I think that definitely will affect a lot of young people, and it would have affected me in the past as well. Yeah, I just think we need to be more open about the fact that that can affect us, and also say that it's probably not all right to just start commenting on how men look and, or how anyone looks, of course. But obviously it's still a massive issue for women, especially online and trolls, etc. But it affects men, and I think we should all talk about it.
No, you've been in almost every UK TV game show and you host podcasts left, right and centre. When you're not making all of us laugh, what does a rare day off look like for you?
I'm so lazy. Like, a rare day off is like I will do absolutely nothing. And I go and work out. I go to the gym. I enjoy that. I enjoy going out for like a big boozy lunch as well, just to completely counteract anything I've done in the gym, I love that. But mainly it's just being at home with my wife and my cat is the main way to spend a day off. Absolutely pinned to the sofa. That's all I want to be.
Yeah, definitely. Total couch potato. Now let's chat Off Menu, your podcast with James Acaster. I think I'm saying that right. How did you guys come up with this concept? And did you ever imagine that a podcast about people's fantasy meals would strike such a chord?
No, I mean, that show is just, we never expected it to be so popular. We came up with the idea. Well, I said we should do a food podcast, and James just texted back the premise in one message. So that's how quickly we came up with it. We've never changed it. We've never fiddled with it. I think that's why podcasts are so popular, in that there's no one sort of meddling with it or changing the format. We just came up with an idea and we just let it go organically. Yeah, it just seemed to work from episode one. And like I say, people love to hear people talk about food. It's something we all talk about. We all have opinions on it. I think we get good guests, and it just seemed to click. So I'm very happy it's still going, and I'm very happy people still enjoy it all over the world, which is great. It means I can come and tour to lots of different places because people have heard the podcast.
Yeah, 100%, including a lot of us here in Australia. We love it. And you had some pretty wild guests, including recently one that's kind of popped up is Robert De Niro. Was there a moment when you thought, okay, this podcast is getting ridiculous in the best kind of way?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say during that interview, there wasn't a moment where I wasn't thinking that. So when he was on his way, we thought this got to be a joke, because when we quite often get messages from our producer being like, this person is penciled for it, or do you have availability for this person, like some massive celebrity? And we go, yeah, we do. And then they obviously don't turn up, or they don't not turn up, but they can't do it. It never comes through. It never gets confirmed. So obviously with Robert De Niro, we're like, yeah, whatever, that's not happening. And then he was like, okay, next week it's Robert De Niro. We're like, yeah, absolutely not, no way. And then we get to the hotel where we're interviewing him. We're sat in the room and they're like, oh, Robert's on his way. You're like, no, he's not, come on. And then he actually walked into the room, and it's sort of gobsmacking. And I had to keep reminding myself during the interview to sort of focus and get on with it, because I was like, this is insane. It's Robert De Niro. It's crazy. Yeah, that's the one that was the most like that, was sort of having an out-of-body experience while we were doing it.
Yeah, I mean, listening to it as well, it kind of felt like that. And the yelling, the back and forth, it was chaotic, but it was beautiful. It was a pretty funny episode. So I also, obviously, I've got to ask, what is your current dream menu?
Well, we've just actually recorded our 300th episode where we do our dream menus again, because we do them every 100 episodes. I've been for a couple of really good meals recently, and I went to an amazing Spanish restaurant in London called Sabor, and I'd have to say I'd go with a full Spanish menu for my dream menu. So croquetas and then there were these incredible lamb ribs on the menu as well. So I'd put lamb ribs on there for sure. We'll go tapas and some jamon iberico and then a really nice glass of cava, something like that. Perfect.
You're bringing your tour, Hot Diggity Dog, to Australia, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but are there any restaurants coming back that you want to tick off your bucket list while you're here?
No, I don't think there's any that I particularly want to tick off. I'm excited to discover some new places from last time I came. I ate really well, obviously, in Australia and New Zealand last time I came. So No, bucket list wise, I'm looking for new places. I'm places that have been opened in the last couple of years. So anyone, watching or listening to this, do get in contact, send me some recommendations because I'm excited to get back.
And let's talk about Hot Diggity Dog, your current tour. Tell us a little bit about the show, but also what is behind the name?
I mean, very disappointingly, I'm going to let you down with what's behind the name. You have to come up with a title for a show way before you've written it. That's the way the rhythm of the the PR machine works. I wanted to do a photo shoot where I was sort of looked really neat and tidy and almost sort of like a high fashion shoot, but I was halfway through a hot dog and I was covered in ketchup and mustard. I was doing that, I hadn't thought of the title yet, and I thought, well, Hot Diggity Dog would be quite good if we're using this as a poster. That's literally it. That's the name. The show is, I've been doing the show for, about 18 months now, all over the place. I love doing the show. I took a little break from it before I'm coming over there to see you guys, and I can't wait to do it again. It's the main bulk of the show is about my honeymoon in Las Vegas and what a disaster it was. But there's lots of other fun stuff in there besides. My shows are always just catching up with what I've been up to. They're hugely self-deprecating. It's very silly. You will come out of the show having learned less than you did going in. I will reduce your intelligence. It's not a show where you're going to come out and go, that's affected my life view. It's very silly. It's stupid. It's over the top. You'll have a good time.
Have you ever, with your comedy shows, have you ever had any bad hecklers? Have you ever had to throw anyone out?
Yeah, I had to throw people out. It's very, very rare, I'll be honest. My audience are pretty good and they understand that heckling is never really helpful. And when people have heckled, it's pretty well timed and I can deal with it. It's just, now and again, there's people who just don't know when to shut up. And it's normally alcohol involved. And then, you basically give people multiple warnings. I give people so many warnings and then it is time to leave after a bit. But that has happened so rarely. I'm very lucky. I think I've managed to curate quite a nice audience. And certainly last time I was in Australia, that was the case as well. Really nice people. Although one couple did arrive a bit late for my show in Melbourne last time I was there, because the wife had been pecked in the eye by a chicken.
I saw this. Is this true?
Yeah.
Pecked in the eye by a chicken.
This couple turned up like 20 minutes late and I was like, what's happened? And he went, oh, she's been pecked in the eye by a chicken. And I obviously lost it. I couldn't believe it. But the audience reacted as if that was the most normal thing in the world.
If it's a bin chicken, Ed, that is very, very common, very probable.
Okay, but now you're going to have to explain what a bin chicken is because this suddenly got a whole lot more Australian.
All right, a bin chicken is like an ibis.
Okay.
They're these white birds, long black beak.
See, that's weirder to me.
Well, they're very common. They just mull around the bins and poke their little beaks in and eat the rubbish, hence the name. And
peck women in the eye. Yeah.
I believe her now.
That would make sense. So I should have clarified, do you mean a chicken in the sense that I'm thinking like a traditional chicken, or is it indeed a bin chicken? I should have worked that out. But no one seemed surprised in the audience. But to me, that was wild. All
right. Well, look, I think we can't wait till you come back to Australia and do your tour. And look, Ed, I think, even though despite all the tattoos, my mum would probably still like you. So thank you so much for coming on the Weekend Briefing.
How could you not like the male Nigella? Please tell your mum I'll come over and cook for her.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, Ed.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you.
That was comedian Ed Gamble there, and you can catch his Aussie tour, Hot Diggity Dog. But now it's time for the weekend list where we recommend what to watch, do, eat, and everything in between. Chris Spyrou? Chris, one of our hosts of The Briefing, what have you got for me?
Oh, hello, Helen. I love coming and doing the list with you. My first recommendation is, it is a podcast that I've been consuming, and no, it is not The Briefing every morning, which if you have made it this far in the list and you don't listen to me every morning on Headlines, I'm very disappointed.
Who are you?
Who are you? The podcast that I want to recommend is called Every Single Album. So it's hosted by these two, they call themselves music enthusiasts, but they're like realistically music journos.
Yeah.
And they break down the discography of very popular artists. So think people like Chappell Roan, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and most recently Miley Cyrus. Now, So these two hosts usually unpack it by themselves, but they were in fact joined by Miley Cyrus ahead of the release of her new album, which if you haven't listened to, Something Beautiful, it is incredible.
I haven't listened to that.
Oh my, it is a cinematic masterpiece, and it is one of those albums that, I know I'm digressing, but it's one of those albums you have to listen to in order because all the songs blend into each other and it really tells a story. And there's a visual album. Anyway, whatever. I digress. Let me get to the podcast. This is the one podcast that Miley said she requested to be on because she's heard them unpack her albums in the past and there were things she wanted to correct the record on.
Oh
I know,
God.
it is so good. They talk about Hannah Montana, which was the Disney show she was on, all the way through to the breakup with the Hemsworth brother. Who was she with? Liam? Liam. With Liam, they talk about that. She talks about how she started to make all this music to get Liam back. So that's how we got wholesome Miley. We got the Miley that was doing Malibu and stuff like that.
Right.
She talks about obviously the Wrecking Ball era and dancing on stage in the VMAs. It was excellent. I highly recommend it. Look, it is 2 hours of your time.
Oh my God.
It is 2 hours of your time, but
Maybe play it at 1.5.
yeah, but you
Play
can
it
watch it
fast.
too. So there's a video option too.
Okay.
We love it. We love
That's
it. We love it.
good. Also, did not know Miley had a new album. Had no idea.
Oh, Helen.
Like, I feel very out of the loop.
Yeah, good
That's
one.
crazy. So it's every single album. Great. I'd definitely listen to that one, but maybe bumped up the speed a little bit. My first recommendation is actually doing something. So checking out a boutique cinema.
Sorry, what?
Like not a big Hoyts or, those big ones.
Or
Events.
Like, Greater Union.
Not a cinema like that. I'm talking about the random independent cinemas or the more unique cinemas.
Where can one find these?
Oh, everywhere.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, snap. Okay.
So actually there's a good website called Classic Cinemas and they are kind of like a little independent cinema chain. They have a few locations in Victoria and Sydney. Sydney, for example, is the Ritz Cinema.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I'm talking about the smaller little cinemas
Okay, I understand.
that aren't massive monopoly chains, but they're still showing and running. A lot of them run a lot of good documentaries or more independent films. And so many of them do deals or memberships that you can sign up either for free or maybe like $30 a year. And then they give you discounts, access to cheap Tuesdays or cheap nights. For example, the Ritz one in Sydney, if you sign up to them, you can get $8 tickets on a Tuesday. So it's just kind of like a hack if you want to support the movie and the film industry, which I think is really important right now, especially with everything going on in the world with Trump and tariffs and the creative arts. So, but at the same time, the cinemas are so expensive.
Yeah, but $8 tickets are a bargain. And then you whack your popcorn on there, your frozen Coke, because you have to get a frozen Coke when you go to the cinema. Maybe
you got to get a drink or something.
Do you get Choc Tops?
I mean, I'm lactose intolerant, so...
Look, same, but I still get the Choc Top.
If it's free, I'll take it. Please.
Absolutely.
Some of them do actually give you a free Choc Top and popcorn on your first visit.
What?
I know. So Google, so if you can check out a boutique cinema or a more independent cinema, they're all around Australia. Find one, you can sign up to their, membership and treat yourself.
Absolutely treat yourself. Well, my second recommendation is also kind of about treating yourself and doing stuff. It is to cancel your unused subscriptions.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all about treating yourself, giving yourself that extra money on the side that you are honestly just wasting every week or month when it comes out of your account. Now, the only reason I've done this is because I went to go pay for something the other day and it declined. And I was like, no. I know that I had $4.20 in that account to pay for my morning coffee, but a subscription had come out. Turns out that subscription is to my gym that I haven't gone to in a year and a half.
Chris, that is just negligence from you.
That is negligence.
Sorry.
Seriously negligence. And they've bumped up their prices. So what was like $22 a fortnight is now $38 a fortnight.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big increase, but I just went in there, unsubscribed. It was really hard to unsubscribe, which is an upcoming episode we're going to talk about anyway.
Unsubscribing to a gym is actually the hardest thing in the world.
And the shame. The riddled with shame.
Really?
No, because they go, are you sure? Are you sure
Yes,
you'd
I'm
like to end
sure.
your fitness journey?
Oh my
It's all the
God.
questions that make you think about
Oh
it.
my
So,
God.
look, get around it. If you are seeing things coming out of your account every week and it's just stuffing up your budget, because
Yeah.
this really stuffed up my budget, but I
Yeah.
haven't clocked it, just get rid of it. Purge it.
Yeah, I did this actually recently as well. And especially all those subscriptions for streaming services or things you might not be using, if you can figure out a way to combine them with your housemates or your friends or something
yeah.
like that, you actually can save money there. So,
Oh,
yeah.
and also keep tab of what they're charging you, because YouTube dropped me an email yesterday and they were like, by the way, your subscription's going up. And I'm like, by how much? By like $3. Yeah, so just, guys, stay on top of it. Hey, yeah.
Yay. All right. Well, my next recommendation actually is on YouTube, but it's an episode of Roundtable. Now, have you? Roundtable.
yeah.
So yeah, Roundtable is a series, and it's got big creatives from like the film and kind of television industry, and pretty much they all sit around a massive round table and talk about their careers and their work. And the latest one that I'm recommending is the Full Comedy Actress Roundtable. So it's got Natasha, Lyonne, Kristen, Kathryn, Hahn, Jessica Williams, and a few other names, but those are kind of the biggest in there. But it goes behind the scenes with a lot of their work and their projects. But I really like this one because they're all women in comedy, and I feel like being a funny woman is hard.
Oh, it's a burden, isn't it, Helen Smith? Tell everyone about it.
Shut up. But I just think being a woman in comedy, in Hollywood especially, it's a really hard gig. So it was a great conversation with all of them, and it was quite refreshing to hear them speak about their work in such a positive way and in such a, not like cocky, but you know how Americans just speak and they're so sure of their work?
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing to hear that. But yeah, I definitely recommend that if you just want to chuck something on in the background this weekend and listen to something while you're doing the dishes. That was, chill, fun vibes, but also a little bit like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they've got a massive backlog, catalogue or whatever. There's there's heaps with like Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo,
heaps.
Cynthia Erivo. So there's
Yeah.
huge names here. And once I get stuck in that trap of watching one, I just keep watching. And it's just
They're so good.
good to see another side of a celebrity and kind of unpicking their work in a critical way. Like a very, good recommendation. I like that.
It's good, yeah. But they do everything from music to film to everything. So yeah, I'm sure you'll find, if you don't really like that one, I'm sure you'll find another one there. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us on the Weekend List.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. But that's it for this week. Thank you so much for being with us. If you want more of the Weekend Briefing, you can follow us or subscribe to The Briefing. And you can find us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. And we'll be back in your ears on Monday morning with Chris and the rest of the team, giving you the latest headlines straight to your headphones, along with some interesting deep dives. I'm Helen Smith. Catch you next time.
Listener.